Hello. कहाँ गया? हाँ, ये देखते हैं.
I'm Tobias from Australis, and welcome to Foreign's YouTube channel. It's a choke-free zone.
Right, you referred to it already, that epic semi-final against Team Liquid when they had Simple standing in at MLG Columbus. Right, this match is obviously so famous, like, yes, for that jumping up shot, but also because Liquid was twice in these scenarios where they were like, I think it was like 15-9, 15-6. They were in these big leads. And the key detail people always forget when they tell this story is that Liquid was on the T side when they got to these map round with map point rather. And to me, that's the most key part, because it's one thing if you just lose a game and say it was like a close game, but there's only 2 extra rounds, 15-13. If you're on a CT side, again, you don't control the game as much. But if you're on the T side, I mean, if I put you in that situation and you lose 15-9, 15-6 from the T side, to some degree, part of that's on Team Liquid, right? Some of that is a throw. Like, you guys can do your best on the CT side, but they have a big part to do with losing that game, right?
Yeah, they definitely had, and I can even mention you some examples. So first, the Mirage game, I think it was about morale after the Code Zero shot and after how this round went, and it was I created on that specific round after that specific match a different setup that's been used nowadays till now, which is basically retaking A but putting more focus into ladder. So basically, we created a setup, a CT that we never used before. And on that time specifically, teams were starting this coach process. People were studying a lot of what the other teams would be doing. So when I came up with a different setup, a CT that we never used before, they just didn't have the answer for that. They were not understanding what was happening. They would go B, and then they would kill 2 players, and there was a third there. They would try to go mid to go catwalk. One player would trade, and there's a second one getting 2 kills. They would go away. I was playing passive, but I would get 1 kill, would retake. So, we created a setup on that game that made us win the Mirage game. So that's period. With Code Zero round, and we changed the setup like that, we were able to close all the rounds. And of course, in some extent, you can say Liquid failed, but there is a point where they failed. They didn't know what we're doing because we never did that before. And we just created that on the fly during the match. So it's kind of understandable that they didn't have the answer for that. And I don't think any of their players were able to really win a round by themselves, like going 2 kills or 3 kills and really deciding the match. So that's how we came back into the game. And then we go to the cash match, which was pretty lost. And I'm going to be honest, when it was 14-6 or something like that, I thought myself the game was over. I was like, we can't come back again. I thought myself that, like, this is over. But then one specific moment that we're never going to forget is when they went B, they got the first kill. All right, so 15 rounds, they went B, got the first kill, they had the bomb site. So it's a 5v4 situation. We had to retake B on a 15-6 match or 15-5 match or something like that. And then, simple mistake was to try to lurk mid. Instead of waiting for us to go mid and do the retake, he would try to kill us mid. So that's when we boosted our self-confidence again and say, this guy is choking. He doesn't know what he's doing. So during the match, we say that. Why is he trying to kill us mid while the match is over? So we won that retake, and then magic stuff starts happening again. Taco gets a auto gun, auto sniper, and he starts getting 2 or 3 kills there. We start winning rounds that we're not losing, and that's when I think they start choking. Then they start performing way below what they were performing during the match, and that's why we come back into the second game as well. So, that's why I say I think Simple became a much better player lately, but those kind of risks he put himself and the team to this kind of risks is something that wouldn't be worth to have him on the team. I don't think it's the case anymore. I think he's a way better teammate as on these aspects nowadays. But those kind of mistakes, even if he was a great player, is just not acceptable to win tournaments.
in the final, when you saw you were facing Na'Vi, did that still have a special significance? I know you'd already beaten them at this point in time, and you'd gone back and forwards. You know, you beat them at IEM, they beat you at Leipzig, you beat them at the Star Series. You know, you'd had some wins against them, but was it like a special significance to get to beat Na'Vi in the final of a major to win?
I think it definitely was, because the LG and Navi clash was something outstanding. It was always great matches. And I remember on the start of this confront, I would lose to Guardian, like badly sometimes. Like even ᴍᴏᴏᴀᴏ, I think there was one half where Guardian make me do 115 score-wise. So the game was over 16-14 for them, and I was 115 the first half. There was a second, on the second half, there was one round I killed myself to kill him, and I said, all right, guys, I got him by myself, 4v4 now, it's way better, trust me. So I managed to kill him one round, and I said, it's way better for us now, it's fine, 4v4. So it was super difficult to fight Guardian at the early stage. But then as I started understanding a little bit better on how he played, how aggressive he was, on which angles he liked to take the most, I was able to predict some of his moves, and then I felt I was bringing the balance a little bit better to my side, because I was able to get into his mind, you know. He was starting to understand that he could lose to me as well. And that was important to me on this duel. And there was many LG and Navi duels where the Alpers had outstanding matches. And there was others where ᴍᴏᴏᴀᴏ, Fer, and even ᴀᴏᴜ were just huge factors into the matchup. So coming to Navi again, I think it was one of the classic games we love to play. And the way the first map went through was a Mirage, and I think we had to come back. It was insane, and the second map was just a one over. I remember, and I still, when I think about the second game, and I think sometimes I try to think about the way I'm playing Overpass nowadays, and one of the most iconic games, of course, is this one against Navi. And I was just able to go to the party and kill people coming A, like early in the round. And nowadays, even my teammates say, hey, Fallen, where is this Fallen, man? Where is this Fallen? I would just go there and kill them. And I was like, back on those days, people were not expecting that. Like, they don't even flash mid, they're just coming, and I was just well positioned. And nowadays, I feel if I do the same, they already know it. And there are a lot of flashes, nades, and just a different game. And in that specific game, as I said, we felt super good going to the second match. And I feel and I know that they felt super bad at losing the first one. Their confidence was gone. And all those players started working, and there was nothing they could do to stop us at that point.
So as I referenced, early on when you were coming back to CSGO and we saw you internationally, you weren't like some superstar AWPer. In fact, sometimes you weren't even open. As you said, you let ZQK do it. When you were an AWPer in this lineup, the good Luminosity that's getting to the final majors, is a really top team, you had a very unusual style of AWPing, especially if someone tells like someone watching the game, oh, he's the in-game leader as well. It looks like this doesn't make any sense because he was super aggressive. He would be like, even on CT side, he would like push your angle and go really close range. Right? This is a new style. We don't really see this, especially not from in-game leaders. So what's the logic of how you've tried to use the AWP in CSGO?
For me, using the AWP in CSGO mainly on the CT side, where all those aggressions came from, my opinion is basically doing the picks that I know it's one free kill is guaranteed. You know, so using positions that it's either I'm gonna get a free kill or I'm gonna stay alive, right? So of course there's some of them that there were risks I could die, but all those kills, they were easier for me because people didn't know my game yet so well. Like I was creating things that people are not expecting. I was using angles that AWPers wouldn't be using. So by using stuff like that, people would not strafe there, people would not use nades there, so they would just come in. And that's an easy kill for an AWPer. All you want is someone to be really coming close, trying to fight you with an AK, and that's an easy kill because they really don't predict you there. But nowadays, after being playing for 2 years in the scene and at top level, people are watching me a lot. So every time I come up with something, it doesn't last long. You know, a different angle, a different timing on trying to break a T side, meaning trying to get map control somewhere. I do it once, people already know it. I might be wrong, I might be fooling myself, but that's the way I kind of feel it. And on very specific matchups against good teams, you can feel that this plays a role. Like, for example, when I play Australia, it's a very different game because
Hello,
they kind of try
Zetrix.
to use all those angles I play to be sure they can find a kill on me if I'm using again. You know, so after many and many encounters with a lot of teams and becoming the best team in the world for a couple of times, this changed a lot the way I can use my AWP nowadays. So nowadays, is a little bit different for me and a little bit more challenging to find those same success because it's nothing. Yeah, it's hard to find a lot of new stuff to really get people off guard the same way I did before.
What was the significance of winning MLG Columbus? Like, I don't just mean that as in, you know, it's a major and this sort of thing, but like, when people hear the backstory of your team, if you're someone who just comes from a normal Western country, it sounds really inspirational, you know, all the stuff where you guys moved to LA and you were like having to share a very small area, two people are sleeping in one bed because there's not even separate bedrooms. Like, when people saw, for example, ᴍᴏ crying in that moment, you know, and at the time a lot of fans didn't know who ᴍᴏ is, you know, they don't know what his personality is like. What was the significance for you and for the team to actually win that major?
Yeah, actually, it means so much. At the time when we were leaving that, we actually didn't know how big that was for us, to be honest. Because as you say, like, we were sharing beds, we were doing everything it takes to really play at that level. We moved house. But when we were experiencing that, when we were leaving that, you just don't realize how big it was. And at the moment, for me, it was something very special because when I was playing for many years in 1.6, I knew I was a good player, but I didn't have the confirmation that I belong to the top. You know, I didn't have the confirmation. Hey, I can play on the same level as guys like ᴍᴏ, Forest. Like I can be this kind of player. And 1.6, I never had the chance to become a player like that, even though I played on a good level. But in terms of achievements, never even close. And on CSGO, kind of the same thing. I saw all those tournaments happening, and then at first we didn't even take part of that. So when we won the MLG Major Columbus, for me, it was kind of a statement. I finally got close to where those guys are. You know, like, I finally did something as big as they always did. So for me, it was a big achievement. And the same for my teammates, I'm sure. Because of everything you had to go through, was something very special. And I think it was the first and only time I saw ᴍᴏ crying, to be honest. So just to have a feeling how special this was for everyone. And if you were following the scene at the time, you'd see as well that everything kind of made sense and everything was aligning to be that way. Because we had 2 finals before the tournament. We were very close to win. Some of those finals we throw big leads, like. And I remember after we threw a big lead in Leipzig, I think it was a DreamHack, I don't remember. It was Leipzig in Germany. One. Yeah, we lost for Live 16-14 and 19-15, and both games, like, we did a crucial mistake at the end and lost both maps. And the moment we lost that game, you could feel in the atmosphere of the team that we're not sad. We just say, all right, this one was ours. Next time, no way we lose. So, like, the team spirit kept growing tournament after tournament until on that point on MLG Columbus, we won the major. And the way it happened was awesome too, because we made that comeback against Liquid, and that was something unique. I don't think we ever reproduced something like that many tournaments after that one. So sometimes fate is just there, and that was kind of a fairy tale, and the end was just that one. It was great.
One of the cool things I thought, like you're alluding to here, about like some of the comebacks and the fact that it was actually a famous trend of the team was to lose the really close games. If it ever got to overtime, obviously the 2 teams that did it to you a lot was Fnatic and Na'Vi. These were the squads where so many times they won overtime or 16-14. Right. The bizarre thing is, that was the thing holding you guys back from winning at the time. That's why you didn't have the titles. And if I asked most fans now, what has Fallen and SK, when you were in SK, what was this team most famous for? They're going to say winning close games. They're going to say being the team that does come through when it's 14-14 and wins the big clutch that you need to, you know. So what do you think changed? How does a team go from being someone, I mean, we see it right now with like Team Liquid, you know, where they're always the ones who seem to lose in that scenario.
Yeah.
You see with the Astralis, it can turn around somehow. So what do you think the secret is there? What changed for you guys?
Basically, I think a team can evolve in 2 ways. First is on the game plan, on the game itself, shooting strategies, getting the points, and that's one you keep improving game after game. And the second way you can improve in the mentality game, right? So you really believe you can win. You really believe you're not going to lose. Doesn't matter what. You can be. I remember on SK games, like when we're on our prime. Doesn't matter if we're losing 14-5. We know that if we win the next round, we can't come back. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how hard it is. And we know that if they made it 15, we're just going to break their economy and get to a T. And you could feel that everyone is fine to losing, you know, like there's no such feeling as fuck, we're losing, we're going to lose this game. That doesn't exist. So what I think it happens to Liquid nowadays, and even you see like those guys, it's insane the amount of second place they have, and they're never able to finish a tournament. And there have been tournaments they were closer to me, others not even close, but it just shows that somehow mentality-wise, they're not just ready yet for winning, and there's something blocking them. And I think the one best way for them to and that's the way we did it. The best way to go through that is actually winning one. The moment they believe they can do it, it's going to be very tough to stop them, right? But so far, every time they're close, they let it go because the opponents are very good as well. Like even when Astralis lost a map on the group stage for Liquid, it seemed like Liquid was on a whole different level and they could read Astralis pretty well. They went to the finals, Astralis did their homework and they kind of destroyed Liquid, and that showed it apart again. So for us, after losing all those tournaments, in terms of game sense, in terms of playability, we're playing well. We knew we were on the high level. But in terms of mentality, we knew we were struggling. So we just tried to keep ourselves very calm. We worked on one or two problems we had on the team. When we were about to get those wins, people get too excited, start communicating more than they should, start calling more than they should. So we start pointing out all those single mistakes and say, hey, this is happening, we're about to win, so stop that. So try to stay calm. We needed to stay calm on those situations. And then once we start getting those wins, everyone jump. I think when you win first, when you get the first big win, you jump to a whole different level because now you have the confidence. And with the confidence, you stop doubting yourself and you feel more natural to do stuff that you sometimes you want when you don't have this confidence. It's just a boost that I can't really explain. You have to be a player to really feel that thing.
Okay. I mean, individually, that's another thing that's also obviously been famous about you, is that even in periods when the numbers aren't as great for you, people know you can still win a big clutch round, or if it's a really tough game. Did you do something to your mentality in that sense? Were you always like this as a player?
Well, I think everyone being confident and we having this boost in our mentality, it helped me a lot just because it was more natural to play and the team had a great chemistry and things were easier for me to call and I could focus a lot on my game. And I can't really put into words what changed for me, but things started going my way as well. I think at that time I had a great reading on how the game was being played. Like I really knew the strategies people were using. I really knew the timings they like to do. And I think teams were very scared to play against us as well. And you can see, like, when you see Astralis playing other teams nowadays, it's kind of the same thing. Like, things that happens against Astralis, normally they wouldn't do the same mistakes against other teams because they're doubling themselves too much. So when you are this team that is a little bit above all the others, it tends to go easier to on your way somehow, just because people keep making mistakes, they keep doubling themselves, or Astralis is... Like I can judge for Astralis now because I kind of feel the same thing when we were playing back in the days. It's so much confidence that a single gap you leave to them, a single mistake you do, they're gonna exploit that. They're gonna abuse it because they feel like even if this doesn't work, someone else is gonna pick up for them and win the round. So they're always trying something, and of course they're super smart in game as well. So I don't know exactly what went well for me, but I just think I had a very good read on how the game was being played. And nowadays I think this read changed a little bit because people are playing a little bit faster. When teams like FaZe came up, they kind of changed the meta a little bit, and now Astralis changed it up again. So it's a little bit harder for me nowadays to be doing the same things I was doing before.
When you said that, because in 1.6, for people who don't know, I always have to mention this, that you were a 1.6 player, you were certainly a good player, and people thought, like you were one of the future of Brazil, etc. Because you came along so close to the end, and especially most notably when the Nvdia sponsorship went away, so there wasn't a lot of money in Brazil, Like you say, you never got the proper chance to test yourself. Like you only went to a few international tournaments.
Yeah, 2 or 3 good tournaments.
When you came to CSGO, and we discussed this earlier in the interview, even though obviously that was a while ago when we did part 1, like in early CSGO, you weren't like topping MVP charts or whatever, in the early days of the Keyed Stars and Kaboom. So when 2016 came along, and not only was your team like getting to the #1 spot, winning tournaments, but you were somehow able to be an in-game leader and really good AWP at the same time. They have all this fragging, etc. So what would you say about that? Because so few people have ever been able to be kind of like a potential star player or putting up big stats and be an in-game leader of the #1 team. It's like a very rare quality.
Yeah, so I was always an AWPer 1.6, like almost all the time. But when we get close to 2011, and my teammates weren't really committed to Counter-Strike anymore. I mean, they played the game, but not on the same level I was putting research into it. I decided to start leading just because I was putting more effort into it. And it was very tough at first. Like, I really fucked up my game. I wasn't getting the same numbers, even 1.6, 2011. And it took me a lot of tournaments to get used to it, and then it started getting better. And then when I went to CSGO, naturally, because of this experience being a leader in 1.6, I was the leader in CSGO as well. And when we decided to merge the teams, like Kaboom and Target Down, and we had ZKK on the team, I was an AWPer at the time as well, but then ZKK was a role AWPer too, and I thought he was super good at the time, and he was very decent, mainly on the first years of CSGO. And I say, hey, you'll be the AWPer, I'm going to be the leader, and I'm going to do the other stuff that had to be done, like my more support role. And I think that was, despite people saying, hey, you are crazy, why did you left DDP for ZKK, like why you have done that? I think this helped me develop a lot in terms of learning the other stuff that has to be done in the team. So I learned a lot on that period. And after we decided to drop ZKK and change him for CodeZero, which came up to be one of the best transfers that always happened.
Yes.
We didn't know that would be true, but so we bring up a very talented player. I was the AWPer again, and now with all the experience I had on CSGO in terms of support, in terms of being that player that can help people, I was also AWPing. And I just think this style of being a very supportive AWPer, it fits a lot in the meta at the time. So it was great for me because I could be a support in terms of setting up the execution. And when the team was doing stuff that I already knew what they do, I know what to do along that. You know, like if they're doing that, if I do that, it's going to be good. I'm going to cover this position, or I'm going to make sure that works. So I was trying to do both things. So I specialized myself in helping people achieve something during the round, and then later I'll come up with my AWP skills and defense sides and stuff like that. And then the other part, CT, for example, as I could read the meta pretty well, I knew where I could find those important kills, like those first kills, breaking some strategies, and I could make some research into the teams. And one thing that I did in the past, and nowadays it's impossible. Nowadays it's impossible to follow every Counter-Strike match because there's so many matches that I can't watch often, right? But I think in 2015, 2016, I could watch them. Every single match that happened, I could go and watch it because we have like 4 to 8 matches a day, the most. I don't think we have more than that, and sometimes even less because we don't have all those online leagues going on at the same time. So it was easy to catch up a tournament. So there was not a single match that I didn't watch in terms of pro level. So even if I wasn't studying to unstrat people, I knew the tendencies because if I saw a good play from a player, hey, this guy likes to do that. When I go to play against him, I know he likes to do it. So sometimes I got those reads because I was watching that. But nowadays, I feel it's super hard. I'm trying to watch more games nowadays, trying to get on the same level of understanding my opponents, but it's just so much going on that's hard to catch up with everyone involved. And there's so many good teams nowadays as well. Back in the days, who would you watch? You watch Fnatic, you watch Navi, maybe a couple other teams at the time, but you didn't have to watch 8 or 10 teams that can really beat you now, you know? So it's a bit harder nowadays to do the same.
Right, I remember there was a comment made in an interview. I think it was Zeus who said it before the second major, before ESL1 Cologne, where he said something like the practice that the team had at the time was like you would scrim a few scrims, like a couple of hours, and then the rest of it would be like theory. It would be like, I assume, you know, in front of like a whiteboard or something and showing like maps or something and talking about, like, can you talk a little bit about this? Like, was that just specifically as a boot camp for the major? Did you do that in the team in general? What can you tell us on this topic?
Well, to be honest, my memory is not so great in terms of really having good understanding of what went up with me. But what I can recall is every time we go for a bootcamp in Europe, so we have been practicing with North American teams for 2 or 3 months. Then we go to Europe for 1 week, and we had our stuff. We had what we want to do, like our defaults, like the way we want to play. And then every time we would practice an international team, if one thing goes wrong, and then you see, hey, this doesn't work here because of that. So we would learn very quickly one style of gameplay or one kind of playing, holding aside that someone was doing. Then we will adapt very quickly. So one time we lose a round on practice, and we'll discuss it after the game. Hey, this default against those kind of things, it doesn't work because of that, or don't change this or that, or since they do it, now this could be good. We never did it before, but since they're doing that, this will be good. So by seeing what they're doing on practice, we will be able to change 1 or 2 things that will help us. And that was just because it's very normal for European teams to play a little bit different Counter-Strike. And I think nowadays it's kind of a similar thing. You can't see this discrepancy between both regions nowadays because it's pretty much lookouts the same. But back in the days, 2015 and 16, you could really see it. Like you play in North America, they give you all this space. You're going to play in Europe, they don't give you all this space. They're going to fight more, a little bit more. So we could have good understanding of what they would do by practicing sometimes against them. And then we would change things by talking and discussing it. And that's why I think at the time we had the best, I would say, the best practices in terms of really taking something from the practice out. But nowadays, it's a little bit harder to do the same because it's not the same meta. It's not like people are following a meta and just changing one or two things. But now there's so many play styles going on, and people are so much more aggressive nowadays. Like they're really fighting for more space. It was super easy back in the days to just get space, leave cool zero there, go back somewhere else and do something. You know, like this is how we won a lot of tournaments. We get space. Now we know a situation we're playing in. Code's there. He's gonna get 1 or 2 kills for free later, and we're gonna make sure we trade on the side and plant the bomb. That's basically how we won a lot of rounds, and a lot of strategies was based around that. But nowadays, people already expect that lurk, you know. So a lot of cold zeros start showing up in all teams because they know that this works, and then everyone is playing around those lurkers already, so it's not that effective anymore. So the game changed a lot meanwhile because we created this. Not that we created it, but code was so efficient doing those stuff that people start creating and copying the same strategies. And then a couple other styles came in. When I saw Cloud9 winning the major, for example, they had a different style where they would, instead of their lurker being this guy who's playing passive after taking control, they would throw a lot of nades, and then ᴍᴏᴜ or ᴍᴏᴜ is going to be inside a smoke, and then this guy is the lurker, and then they're fighting somewhere else, and then he's going to find a kill. So it's a whole different concept that catch some people off guard, including us on Mirage, for example. One game we lost hard for them. And then you got FaZe, who's playing completely different. There are no such rules. They're just facing you, and they have all those great players who can get kills where you don't expect from and turn up all the situations. And then came Astralis with these innovative grenades ideas, and then very smart CS in all terms, like really taking the risk that's necessary. And when they start winning, when they get Magisk and the team start winning, they got this confidence that's very hard to stop. But that's how it is. We're working to break a little bit of this confidence and get to the same level soon.
Okay. Right, when you won ESL1 Cologne, like, that, for me, that one tournament of all the tournaments that you played at that point in time was like easily the best. Like, this was the one where it looked like, you know, when we talk about Columbus, you know, Team Liquid obviously had to like fuck some things up to let you win some of those maps. You know,
I think Liquid beat Fnatic, right? If I'm not wrong, I think Liquid was able to beat Fnatic with
but
beating
I'm talking about from Columbus. Yeah.
Columbus first.
Yeah, you're right.
Columbus,
they did it at Columbus as well, though. But But yeah, coming in ESL Cologne though, this was the one where, aside from like some good games against Virtus.pro, everyone else it looked like you were like at least slightly better than. Was this like a peak for the team? Because obviously after that lineup didn't win any more tournaments. So what would you say about that?
Yeah, I definitely think the team was playing great at that time, and to be honest, that was one of the easiest tournaments we won in terms of winning the hard tournaments. Of course, it was a major, but we didn't, as you said, I think the match that we could have gone other way was the match against Virtus.pro on the semis. But despite that, they were pretty convincing wins. I'm checking the results here. 2-0 against Liquid, 2-1 against Virtus.pro, 2-0 flip side. And then we beat FaZe. I think we beat G2 at the group stage too, right? Yeah, so yes. Our group was the group of death. When this got drawn, we're like, dude, this is hard, but we're going to show them we are the bosses, right? But we are a little bit afraid, right? We could go easily out of groups. If we lose to G2 in FaZe, we could go easily out of groups. But we start good against G2 as a ᴑᴏ match. Then later we play FaZe, ᴑᴏ as well. And that's something to be said as well. Like, I don't think we were talking about this, but ᴑᴏ was one of our strongest maps. And you can see here, like, he gave us a major, gave us a group stage for major. And now ᴑᴏ is out. I'm sad about that. I was checking some Reddit comments lately, and I saw people 6 months ago, Nuke was adding instead of ᴑᴏ. 6 months ago, Astralis got him back. And yeah, that's actually true. It's ᴑᴏ. It's all because of ᴑᴏ. I'm kidding. It's not all because of ᴑᴏ, but ᴑᴏ was a big part of our game. ᴑᴏ was a big part of our game for many tournaments. It was one of our best maps, including the finals. We beat Liquid on ᴑᴏ as well. So yeah, this was a great tournament. I think everyone was playing on a very good level. The team was very confident. And it's funny to say that we only win those 2 tournaments in 2016, to be honest, because we have so many runs where we ended second or ended semis. So many
finals, semis.
So many, I always have semis or finals, but we always screw up something. In the end, we only win those majors and 2 more, if I'm not wrong. We did 4 wins, but the team was feeling great at this time, and I don't know, on this major, we just felt we were a little bit above the others.
Okay. Right, obviously another map in this particular period was legendary for your team was Train, when you had the streak where you were going, and eventually it went up to 17 before Astralis. And actually, for people who don't know, the last game that you played with the FNX lineup was that game that they beat you on Train, and that's obviously the end of E-League Season 2. So what was the team so good about on Train? Because the funny thing I remember is, in the early days of this lineup, no one initially noticed that Train was super good because you had like the 3 maps that were amazing. You had Overpass, Mirage, and Train. And I noticed even back in the early days, you used to just basically like switch up which you picked based on the opponent's weakness. It wasn't like Astralis now with Nuke, where if it's available, they just pick it 100% of the time because they know they're going to win. Like you actually weren't like sort of leaning on Train as though it was like a crutch in the same way, but you got this amazing streak on it by the end. So what worked so well on Train, do you think?
Well, I really, to give you a full answer on that, I really need to watch the matches and try to make a comparison to how people are playing Train nowadays. But I remember that some of our strongest points was first, this thing about soloing B by Taco and just coming back with a second player to rotate when he had info was super important. And that's something nowadays you can be a little bit punished if you do that, because people learn how to play against it. And this was very effective. Taco was a very good beep holder. And other things that we were great at, Code was super aggressive on Ivy, not aggressive in terms of really showing up and getting trash control like super further, but he always was blocking them before Fridge. We always had some set plays where we could kill people, and he did a very outstanding job in Ivy. And for many times, for long games, he had a lot of plays he could do to find kills there. Nowadays, a little bit harder. People change the way they control Ivy. People change the way they kind of expect some of the one-ways Code would use there. So Code sometimes can't take the same advantage as he used to do on Ivy, but he's still a very good player there. And I think people challenged the Alper way more in the past in terms of A side as well. Like people would go try to kill mid, people would go. It was super popular at the time to send a player Olaf. I don't know if you remember that. Like
yes.
Olaf would go like to this corridor on the left side, train mid, and he would try to do plays around that, and everyone was trying to copy that. So for me, it was funny because I always knew there would be a first fight there. I would go back 6 and I know, hey, someone's going to be trying to fight here. And from there on, I always try to pick up those kills. And later, if things go apart, they start getting more progress. I think FNX played a big role on Train as well, because FNX was someone who, for example, the biggest difference, and we also had these discussions into the team when we bring ᴑᴑps, for example. ᴑᴑps was a very strong ladder player. Like if ᴑᴑps was in ladder, and mainly when teams didn't know how to take ladder properly, no one could go down ladder. Like he would kill 1 or 2, and then teams took some months for teams to understand, hey, if this guy's playing here, we got to learn this new flash that you break the window and throw the flash at the same time so they can hear it, or we can boost and go double down boost. So I think we saw a lot of change in the way people play Train just by the way they control ladder room, right? We can talk about that and discuss month after month.
कोई player available नहीं है
and
तो
ᴑᴑps was a very strong ladder player, and he won some matches. But after doing the same, suddenly they always knew he was ladder, right? So for me, it was harder because I would be back 6, I would be side, I would be top Z, and people would say, hey, as soon as you see falling, you know the other guy is ladder. So they didn't have to really check out the other spots because they're already specking on ladder. And then I said, hey, ᴑᴑps, you got to change your spots. Do they know you're a strong ladder player? But for me, it's harder now because they know you're a ladder, so they're all focusing on flashing me out somewhere, and then they're bursting me. So, and I think FNX did a great job by changing his position a lot and being the passive player that would play around me. And it's not that we even would talk about it. It's not that we would discuss setups, but he just knew naturally what to do. So if he sees I'm on side, he's gonna say, hey, I have your left. Or sometimes we don't even say anything, but he's gonna get this important kill that will mess my game, and I will get the others. So it was just a natural balance where FNX would kind of do whatever has to be done, and he would feel what I need the most. And by not being an aggressive player, by being more just passive player that relies on the teams doing something as well, like not trying to win the match by himself, he would fill those gaps and give me a lot of freedom in the map. So I had a great time Train with FNX, mainly because of those things and because of how the teams were playing. Like they gave me so many opportunities to kill people going outside mid. And actually at the time I was younger, I was hitting some great shots too. People would jump mid, I would get them. Sure. I even made a joke with Ricardo those days. I have to put someone jumping team mid from the right to the left so I can hit them again, because nowadays I'm missing those shots.
Right, okay. Well, what about this then? So, as you say, even when this team wasn't winning championships anymore, you were always in the semis or the final, and obviously there was a lot of very close losses where you might have won some of these tournaments. But the bizarre part is, even though I actually understand a lot of pros, to a fan, that still sounds awesome. Like, I'm in the finals every time. It's like, if you are someone who's used to winning, though, that's the worst, is to always be close and not do it. So I can understand why you might eventually change the lineup. But the question I had is this. Why could the lineup not just wait until after that major to change? Like, why did you make the change and have to kick FNX out so early? Like, was there some particular reason you couldn't just say, like, hey, let's just do, like, 2 more tournaments or whatever it was, and then we split.
Yeah, what you said is right. Like, going and being in top 4 when you're not there is the best thing in the world. Like, if you're a top 10 team in the world, you start getting top 4 every time, you're going to say, hey, this is great, guys. Keep going. Like, we're going to get there soon. But once you're on the top, you won 2 majors and you want to win more and more and more, start losing too much, even if it's in the semis, even if it's in the finals, we're like, dude, we're missing something. You know, you always want to get better. And the problem is with the defeats, you kind of want to fix the mistakes, right? And that's when you need the team to work and you need the players to commit to some adjustment because you want to win. You don't want to be losing finals, right? And then that's when sometimes one or another player is not going to feel the same. Some of them is going to feel satisfied with what we have or is not going to work hard the same. And I think with FNX, what happened that is our relationship outside the game start breaking apart with all those defeats and all those attempts to fix those mistakes that are not fixed. And we would lose 1 or 2 tournaments, and sometimes it would be because of the same mistakes they were already talking about on the previous tournament, and then this would happen again. And that was just a headache because, hey, we just talked about it, and then we lost another one because of this again. And then because of a little bit of his personality, FNX is a little bit hard to deal with in terms of making him understand something you want to say, and he's a little bit defensive. And so it was a little bit hard to really point those things out. So at some point, it was just very difficult to talk with FNX and really having a decent conversation in terms of, hey, understand that, yeah, let's move forward, I'm going to fix it. It was hard to get this from him, you know? So the team felt like, hey, it's not committed, or just the synergy was breaking out tournament by tournament. And the reason we changed it before a tournament is just because we were on a stress point where the main question we did to ourselves is, guys, are we playing to be the best in the world or we're playing to have fun? Right? Like, what is the main reason we got here? And everyone agreed that we're here to have fun, and we're not having fun at the time. It was super stressful because of all those things. And then we say, hey, it doesn't matter who we play with, let's just bring someone else. If it's good or not, we'll see. Maybe we're not going to win the major, maybe we're going to lose hard, doesn't matter, at least we're going to have fun. That's why we changed, because it was so stressful at the time. And that's why we made that change before the major went up.
Okay. Right.
I have no
year,
idea.
as we alluded
Type
to from
exclamation
talking about
sense.
Cologne, one of the main rivals was Virtus.pro when your team started winning. And at the majors, you were able to beat them. After that, they had some wins where they got some really key victories. I mean, one that stands out in my memory always is the ESL New York one. That was like if you're just a fan of Counter-Strike, Virtus.pro.
Okay.
And if people remember the ESL 1 New York semi-final, that was like, I call it like champagne Counter-Strike. Like, it's just, if you're a fan, it's like the best match to watch, basically. You know, every team's going back
New York,
2016.
16, okay.
And this was the era when the two of you it was just backwards and forwards. And part of it was, you know, you had like the same map pool, basically. You'd play the same train, Mirage every single time.
Yeah,
so it's going to be a great series in that sense. What made, obviously now that Virtus.pro lineup is dead, you know, a bunch of the players aren't considered good players at the moment. What was so good about Virtus.pro back then? What made them a tough team to play, or what was the matchups like when you would play them?
So first, I think at the time, they were more effective as a players. Like, they were just great players, individually speaking, and Snacks could take something out of the head once in a while that nobody else would do it, and they were just consistent. Even Pasha was the most annoying player to play against, because it felt like he was. I even said that against Navi, and people misinterpret me recently. It felt like Pasha should be a bad player, but he's there wrecking you, like doing his crazy movements, doing piece he shouldn't, or getting positions you kind of know he is, but you think you can challenge him, but you can. I used to say that there's a position on train, on A side, where I'm holding Ivy from the side. The only player who was able to kill me there with an AWP was Pasha, because he did the Pinocchio movement. I even joked him with it. He just showed up with the AWP, showed me the AWP. I missed the shot, he shows up again, kill me.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure I don't know how he did it. I don't think he even... But those some Pasha things, like, so they were able to get those things going on their way because they were very solid, and get those moments where they would shine, each one at the moment. And as a team, they were hard to play against because they had so many fakes. Like Virtus.pro, they play a different CS than everyone else. Like, they would be satisfied with less map control than anybody else, and from their position, they would throw a couple days that you think something is coming, and then they rely on someone from our team changing a position, then they're going through, and then they're faking it, and you never know where it's going to be, you know? Against Virtus.pro, we always felt we're always susceptible to be losing for a fake. So you can't move too much. And when we moved, we got punched. I even remember one of the tournaments, Epicenter, we played 2017. Yes. I ended up being important to the match and winning the game for us, winning the clutch with both ⴍᴑᴜ and all those things. But I remember on CT side, they're throwing all those nades and I moved for 1 or 2 seconds. That's when they are using the times, So they really knew what they were doing in terms of calling and they all those good ideas. And I don't know, it just felt like when they did their boot camps, when they played a little bit better, they all got the confidence back. ⴍᴑᴜ as a team, even if they're playing shit for 1 or 2 tournaments, when they got back practicing, when they start, they always came up with something innovative as well. You know the B pop on cache that people know nowadays? Like they smoke the B entrance and then people just storm out. The first time we saw people doing that was ⴍᴑᴜ, to be honest. I remember watching this tournament. And they won a tournament, win a lot of cash games off that. No one was expecting people to really go out of the smoke and be pop like that. And ⴍᴑᴜ sometimes will come with 1 or 2 pieces of strategies that really change the meta. So ⴍᴑᴜ was ahead of the meta sometimes in 1 or 2 maps with 1 or 2 strategies that will give them very good rounds. And that's why we say the plow, right? So, and I think as a player who was playing against it, you didn't really know what was going on because no one did that strategy yet. I remember when we played Nuke against them, at the time we were playing Nuke, and it's actually funny. We're losing Nuke City side for them. They had a new execution on way where people were getting out of hut with flashes going over, and basically they had a very good exec going on. And the team just said, hey, if we stay inside A, we're going to die. There is no position we don't get blind. They're going out with the flashes, and there's nothing we can do. That's basically the comment we did after losing 2 times for that. So nobody saw it. Nobody knew how they did it because they just showed up with that. So that's one of their strengths as well. And I think what they lost with the time is first, they lost the confidence between themselves after some of their defeats. And somehow, or some specific reason, they didn't come up with these innovative ideas anymore. So they're not really bringing those different strategies, and they start breaking apart. That's what I feel from outside, but can't really say because I'm not there.
Well, this ties in then, because if people remember, in early 2017, there was a period of time when SK was falling apart. You had ᴑᴜ in the lineup, and you had these couple of tournaments. It was the Star Series and the IEM Katowice, where you didn't get into the playoffs. And this is when, if I'm correct, when I believe there's that story that ᴑᴜ and ᴑᴜᴜ have, where, like, they were, like, saying, like, oh, let's just split the team up or something, and then they go away, and, there's, like, a cool element where they come back together, and they're like, fuck it, let's win everything, It's, in a movie, that would be, like, a really great scene, obviously, where, like, you kind of get things back together. From your perspective, did you ever think, actually, like, the team might just split in half, or maybe someone retires or leaves, and we have to start again?
So basically what happened when ⴑⴑ came up to the team, we knew we had a second ⴑⴑ on the team. Like ⴑⴑ he's like a fair player, like the roles, like ⴑⴑ really shaped himself as a player watching ⴑⴑ. So when we bring ⴑⴑ to the team, we knew that he wasn't the right player in terms of role, but his ceiling and his potential was bigger than the other players we could choose from. Sure. So we kind of bring him to the team and say, hey, how we put all those pieces together now? We actually don't know. So what do we do? We went for Vegas playing like FPL style in terms of being aggressive whenever they want, like let them choose the stuff they want to do. And it worked great. We went to the finals and we lost for VP because of a task clutch. That was 1-on-1v2 on Mirage and we lost the finals. Otherwise, we would have won the match. So the feeling is, yeah, we're playing great. That's how we should play. But every sloppy play, every too aggressive game has its flaws. And when we play the next 2 tournaments, everything will go against us. So for example, Overpass, when we're playing default, you normally don't throw the blue guy, like the connector guy first. We're going 3 park, 1 blue, 1 monster. You normally don't put the blue guy to go fight first with no purpose by himself, mainly on anticos because he's alone, right? You want the guys who go as a group to take the initial fights. And on that time, we didn't really care about that. People are doing whatever they want. And so we start getting punished by all those things. And Navi beat us on the Zico, and then we lost an overpass for them. So every margin of error we give for opponents, they were taking it. So what was the feeling after the 2 tournaments? Hey, we can't play like that. Like, it worked great for the first tournament, but you see, like, all those flaws, those are mistakes we don't do. We know this is wrong, and now we're doing all those things just because we're trying to give everyone freedom and stuff like that. So me and ⴑⴜ start really feeling this is not the game you like to play. This is not as smart as we think Counter-Strike should be played in. And then we literally had a conversation where, hey, ⴑⴑ, we tried the best this way, playing with you. We thought it would be good, but conclusion is it's not that great. It's not, what's the word in English? It doesn't happen every time. Like you can't really rely. It's not reliable. Yeah, it's not consistent. Yeah, it's not consistent, not reliable. And then ⴑⴑ agreed. He said, yeah, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. And then ⴑⴑ start transforming himself into another player. So ⴑⴑ start Now, instead of playing more like fear, instead of creating all those space and looking for all those fights, he was more like, what do you guys need from me? So what should I do? Like, which positions are we missing? And then he started building himself again. And that's when we won 4 or 5 tournaments in a row. We won first Summit and then 3 or 4 great tournaments, ECS and a couple others. That was a great run for us. I don't really remember why Code Zero and Fair fault. I think it was something very stupid. Everyone was super stressed after those 3 tournaments that we initially had with Phelps. And I think it was kind of a WhatsApp message that didn't go really well, and they just had a super fight because they were super stressed. But it wasn't something special. It's like, hey, you're gonna come eat? No, we're not going to eat. And then one guy started fighting very hard. You know, it was something like that. It wasn't a really super big reason, but at the time, because everyone being so stressed, it became something super bigger. And then I remember we were at the airplane. I say, hey, Taco, we gotta fix the team, dude. They're fighting. What are we gonna do to fix that? At the time, Taco even said, hey, Fallen, probably gonna split. Me and Code are gonna go somewhere else. So we had those conversations, but we were actually trying hard to fix it. And at that time, we went to I can say that this was the bottom ground. And I think fair fight with Code, theoretically, as you can see, part of a fight, it just was the bottom line of the process we were having, all the stress. And we came back stronger from that. Like, everyone got together. We had a very special meeting. A lot of people who like us, Camila and Ricardo, were very important on that part because they got some testimonials from a lot of people that like us. Even Neymar sent us a video, and a lot of family people and say, hey, you guys have to work together. You guys are a family. You have been working for so long to get there. You can't just let it go in. So it kind of touched us in an emotional way where we're like, all right, let's give it another try. Let's move Phelps to a different role and let's try it again. And that's when we start playing super well again because Zero got back to his numbers. The team was playing great. And we're playing one of our best CS we ever played, to be honest. Like, I think the ECS tournament we won, beating FaZe and Astralis, very close match.
Epic games. Yeah.
For me, this is a win. This tournament, it has a bigger place on my heart than the second major, for example. That was such a difficult tournament. In terms of gameplay, in terms of quality, in terms of the games, it was such a great tournament to play. So that was quite a special tournament. And after that, I think things started going south again when we lose the major, mainly for Australians and quarterfinals, I think, the PLG major. And especially because after all those wins, we were tired, right? We're on the road winning 4 tournaments in a row. We want to make the 5th or want to make the 4th. I don't remember now. And people were stressed already. We didn't have much time to create new things. And we really want to win that major. We felt that we could win it. And during the preparation, some of our players, I remember having one discussion where I say, hey, don't do that in practice. Like, we're not going to do that in game. And one of the players come to me and say, hey, but we're winning. So after we stop winning, then you talk something to me, you know. So some of ego problems started going on into the team because we're winning too much. And then we didn't deal with it properly. We lost the major. And then from there, I don't think we covered super well. Outside problems start happening again, like start getting stressed with each other. And that's when I think Phelps decided to leave the team, actually. He saw that everything was going on. He decided there was a possibility where we didn't want to play with him. And he just felt that it would be better that way, and then he decided to leave.
When you had that match at the major, like, first of all, it was kind of bullshit because you and Astralis were like the 2 favorites. And you
पॉडकास्ट चल रही है भाई फॉलन और फॉरेन बात कर रहे हैं मैच नहीं खेलता भाई दिन में वार्म अप करता हूं रूटीन है मेरा
this was the one where famously Device had a very, very good series, and this was actually when he'd already said in interviews, I think very briefly before, that he was doing this approach where he would like study heat maps and study also, you know, what he would do so that he could like kind of like be in a position the opponent wouldn't expect. And that game especially, if you ever go and watch the VOD from his POV, like, he is literally almost, like, obviously with an AWP you can't literally pre-fire because the bullet fires instantly, but he's like almost pre-firing the spots you're coming to, you know.
Yeah, I watched that match a couple of times.
Waiting. Was that bullshit to play in, where you just like, he's just there every time you go on the corner?
The second map was bullshit to play in because not only he knew a lot of stuff I would do, but I got so unlucky on some of the things I was doing too. But the first map, it felt like their gameplay was challenging me. And it's not that he would come and try to kill me by himself. They would be smart. All right, they didn't smoke mid, so he's ulting mid. Since he's ulting mid on cash, either he's Z or he's white box. So they would boost him on the on container. He would check, okay, he's not Z, so now flash white box. And then he would try to take a peek on me on cash. So they're not playing the round to win, they're playing the round to kill me, some of the rounds, you know? And of course, we never suffered from that. Of course, I died 1 or 2 times around those plays. And that's when I realized that they had something special around me, and that's when it kind of changed my gameplay. And I don't think we specifically lost cash match because of it, but it definitely gave it then to 1 or 2 good rounds.
डिले हो गया ये मैच 10:30 को था. तीन दिन बाद है ये मैच. यार कोई डेमो डालने दो मेरे को पहले. सेंस लिखो भाई, आपको पहले भी बताया. एक्सक्लेमेशन सेंस लिखो. कमांड सारी डिस्क्रिप्शन में दे रखी हैं, वो देखो और फिर लिखो. सेंस ही लिखा है, वहाँ पे चेंज करना पड़ेगा. पता नहीं नाइटबॉट चल नहीं रहा है. 2.2 है भाई सेंसिटिविटी 400 DPI पे. I used 2. Wow, that's like pretty high. वाह भाई, स्टैन को क्या डिंक पड़ा है. मरा भाई, इतना नेट डैमेज खा लिया उसने। 3 नेट करे इन्होंने वहां पे। हाँ 3। ग्रेव डिवाइस इट मिक्स। हेलो। एक पड़ा। दो पड़े। तीन पड़े। क्या? हेलो प्रज्वल। Oh man. कितना इनको नेट डैमेज मिला भाई शॉट पे अभी तक। उफ। अब तो डिवाइस चले गया। यप पुराना मैच है। स्टारलेस के मैच देख रहा हूँ आजकल थोड़े ज़्यादा, 2-3 दिन से। टुप्री ने कर लिया भाई खुद को आइसोलेट। शॉट। ओ शॉट। एक्सकैली वाली कंट्रोवर्सी देखी? हाँ भाई, मतलब देखी है। आप किस साइड हो भाई? मैं खुद की तरफ हूँ, मैं किसी की तरफ नहीं हूँ। ही। अब तो क्लियर हो गई सब, बढ़िया। लोग हेडशॉट ई स्पोर्ट्स की तरफ। शॉट। इतना बढ़िया खेला ईथन ने ये राउंड। Oh my god. ये अच्छी चीज है, ईथन ने बहुत बार ही इनको मारा है मिड निकल के, जब ये शॉर्ट में मरे इस बार तैयार थे उसके लिए, मार नहीं पाए एक को भी। दो ऑप्शन है भाई, जब इसके बंदे मिड पुश कर रहे हैं, या तो ये पूरा टनल के आगे खेले, या ये खेले भाई इनके साथ थोड़ा कनेक्टेड जहाँ पे ये अभी है। दो केस में खेल सकता है ये, क्योंकि ये अकेला है, ये मिड पुश कर रहा था, वो तो मिड पुश हो गया तो ये इस तरफ आ गया जल्दी, नहीं तो वो सेटअप बना के भी खेल सकते थे, या जो भी वो टॉप मिड आ गया एक्सेट्रा, जो उसको बेस्ट लगा उसने वो किया इस केस में। BRB boys. I need to go to washroom. BRB. क्या मारा डिवाइस ने उसको। ये कहाँ से उड़ के आया स्मोक? तो ये ऐसे लग रहा है। देखता हूँ। बी से डाला। हेलो एम्बर। What's up, man? अरे यार दुपरी बोला खत्म करते हैं जल्दी खत्म हो गया आज अपना एक डेमो छोटी थी गेम क्योंकि टाइलो विंग्स अब स्टार्ट भी नहीं हुआ अभी तक 10:30 शेड्यूल था 11:30 समथिंग हो गए 11:40 ऑलमोस्ट This is only yeah. That death match was headshot only.
是一个双杀或者说是三杀，
对他的
连杀能力爆发确实是很强，
特别强啊，而且他这个爆头率特别高，
对
啊，就是基本上都是秒杀啊，所以说今天晚上的话，两边肯定也算是龙争虎斗了啊。天路这场你觉得你看好谁？
我更看好天路。
गेम ऑन हो रही है 1 मिनट
这可能我也多余问，
फिर ये मैच देखेंगे जब शुरू होगा तब तक
客观来
खेलते
讲肯
हैं
定是看好天路的啊，肯定我估计这个直播间的朋友们也肯定是都是觉得天路获胜可能性更大，
对
啊，不管是从这个个人能力对吧，还是说整体的这个套路。
对，就像你之前这个刚才聊到的这个话题啊，他们每个人都能适时的站出来，其实不光
फिर कोई स्ट्रीम सुनेगा कि क्या चाइनीज चल रही है
大
सुने
嫂同样都是总会适时的有人站出来。
ये है वो
这
डेथ
也
मैच
是天路其实最可怕的一点，
对，
就是逆风的时候，然后
बढ़िया है भाई आप बताओ कैसे हो भाई लॉन्ग टाइम ब्रो
突然有一个人啊就站出来了。
对，所以我觉得这一点真的是，你说是巧合吗？其实也不是，真的就是适时的总有这么一个英雄会站出来，然后帮助自己的队伍把逆风转变回来。
这还是个人能力太强了，对吧？确实是，平均个人能力来说的话，我不否认，我一直也是觉得天路这边是个
बस टीम एडवांटेज हाँ वो तो देखा मैंने
一会儿比赛期间，直播间咱们会抽到这个季卡的发布啊，直播间的朋友们要多多关注啊，多多参与。那么刚才说到这个 Webcam 这边啊，其实他们这边我觉得也都是比较准的年轻选手，像大图不用提了，征战多年了，已经算老将了。
对，而且他这名老将确实也是啊，你说小选手他爆发能力强，就应该的嘛，对吧？年纪比较小，但是 Gas 真的是，他从打火车的时候从高坡拉出来，经常是一个秒杀，甚至是一个双杀的秒杀。
这边个人能力也都非常强，而且新加入这边的话，已经磨合很多的 Martin 啊，这个选手其实枪法也是非常的准。之前其实可能这个不是特别被人关注的一个选手，而且状态是非常好的一个 擅长，当然说这种像练习项目没有说不擅长的地方，能力就更擅长。
对，要说小鬼的话，其实感觉这个他说更喜欢长途，我感觉他更喜欢烟雾。
对，大魔王，他这个时机确实发的。
之前打 Overpass 的时候，太关键了，在这个船下，我不知道你还记得吗？然后他混了一颗烟雾，然后直接是打了一个特身，正好两个人1穿2了，比较关键这一分。
但是其实我们下面有一个这个老队友，对吧？天路这边老队友，他对相对来说比较了解天路打法。他因为之前他跟大头都做过队友，对吧？在3次之前和大头做过队友，所以说这个相互之间这种打法，都会比他一般老会更了解一些。
对，感觉这次应该是有点强，
肯定会提高对吧？
对，每分钟肯定会都非常小心。
他这边肯定要稍微注意一些。天路这边CT的话，就是非常规打法，多，对吧？看的话，天路应该是先做进攻，对吧？就看这个他们扛住工地这边的压力。工地这个也算是兵家必争之地，对吧？一时间第二时间只要减轻的话，让对方进攻方把这个东西下攻给打，确实不好。
是，先是来到今天的图一 Overpass， 先看一下双方这边的这个配弹情况。Webcam 直接是5个小甲，天路这边还没有着急。CYE 是配到了一套道具。
शुरू हो गया लगता है।
烟雾2颗闪光，第一时间白菜就已经来到下水道。这个飞口这边是要对枪啊，有点强啊。
这边
这打的有点主动啊，Webcam。
对，这边上来肯定是要观察一下啊，然后虎人这边也没有过多的去摊枪，马上就撤到后点。
对，你看他刚才这个位置没有站气球，竟然是站了一个这个前点。
这边天路下水道已经等于是摸过来了啊，小鬼这边必断一个后。哎呦，
这
虎神这2枪，近点完成了1换2啊，而且把包打掉了。
看来还是有自信，但是小鬼这边一个人摸茶馆，知不知道？
知道。一发直接带走，最后 CY 孙克伦2个人2打4 ，B 区骚扰一下，直接来 A 区看一下，稍微骗了一下 CT。
对，但感觉Webcam这边好像是不为所动啊。
对，D 这边排了一下，交叉火力，弟弟这边被打掉，但楼兰在后边的秒掉了，最后1打1，孙克伦这边残血的一个状态。
这边应该是听到了回放的声音。
是这个1打2，说实话我也机会不大啊，
有点难，不敢拍包，就等你滴滴的这一声。
这边的话先架一下，也没有假白包。
对，
这个2打1这边温萨也不
心理博弈。
这个时候伦伦是后撤了，但是还有25秒。
对，这个时间不太多了，看一下还是想转 B， 直接跑过去应该时间够。温萨这边肯定不动了啊，两个人一边架一点。
对，抱团就好了。
对，
不管是 A 区还是 B 区，两个人抱团回防。
孙红龙看一下埋下这个 C4 以后啊，怎么选位？这个转点确实有点灵性啊。
对，
这边听到了，动不了了。
位置转不了了，自己血量很残啊。
没办法啊，这边刚埋完包以后被锁死了。
对，但是来到 B 区至少说是把包。那么手枪局是 Webcam 这边首先拿到了。还是 A 区跟 B 区，武神这边刚住。
对 A 区 ，Gas 这边直接是近点啊，完成了一个1换2，这个是非常关键的。
然后 B 区这边也是小鬼一人摸过来，没有想到啊，在一个场馆右手直架。
对，这边 B 区没动字号啊。
对。安包以后，这边天路是直接钢枪啊，4把咖喱，把 AK， 有点铁，只有1颗烟雾，没有任何的道具了。
ऐसे ही है भाई क्वालिटी नहीं बढ़ रही।
对，只能是干拉了。
但这边是3个人吗？3个人前顶啊。
对，这边 A 区顶的有点凶啊。
打的真是主动啊。
工地这边天路也站下来了，看这边马上要遭遇啊！孙红龙这边是把 AK，哦呦，虎神啊拉出来直接打掉。
对啊 ，AK 直接秒掉了。
这边没打过，近点楼兰又是打掉了白菜啊！这边上来就变成一个5打2，2个工地打掉1个，看下水道这边小鬼在架， 单 king 已经是血量不多了。这边着急
了，
了，
侧身，但是补枪有点快的。
补枪有点快啊。包还在肥口。
Full aggression भाई。
再摸过来，马挺现在两边看。
Take the fights。
对，攻击这位啊，还是被带走了。
对，虎神这边有点猛啊，又是一波3杀啊。
对，你看他手枪局其实打的就比较自信。
对，
一个人
根本不怕。
打的太大了。
一个人顶到这个厕所中段，而且也没有往后退了啊，就在这儿跟你拼枪。
对，
确实有点自信。这样的话，2比0，天路钢枪失败 ，ECO。
3把沙鹰，1把 P250，赛一这边是起到了一颗手雷，第一时间这个飞口肯定是出不来的，直接踩火出嘛，白菜。
这边 A 区还是3个人前顶啊，
对，
温萨这边 A 区啊，就是死要把你顶住，第一时间给你非常大的压力。下一道弟弟，佛伦，罗兰把包打掉了。
पूरा चढ़ के खेल रहे हैं भाई इको हो गए हो। पहले दोनों गन राउंड तो 3 ने ही स्टार्ट किया है विद एग्रेशन। इनकी इंग्लिश स्ट्रीम क्यों नहीं आ रही भाई? आनी चाहिए वो फन स्पार्क वाली ऑफलाइन है, पहले दिखा रहा था पता है। उनकी स्ट्रीम की डिले की वजह से मैच 10:30 शेड्यूल था, ऑलमोस्ट 12 बजे स्टार्ट हुआ है।
看这个朝向，每个人还是要3A 前顶。
也是之前你说到这个天路抢 B 区嘛，抢这个工地，确实抢得太凶了，所以温萨布这个对应也是比较快。
5-man boost straight
直接一波
from
下。
back。
看到了，漂亮，第一个
让他抓住了。
对，第一个长局这边就来了一个4架，也是打掉了工地这边跳着观察的子豪。
कहीं कुछ नहीं किया 5-man boost के बेसिस पे कि भाई मिड पुश करते हैं, कनेक्टर पुश करते हैं जब इन्फो मिली।
直接回防了。
对，而且这个位置啊，算是非鱼苗位，对吧？打这个静音摸出来的是非常大的优势啊。但是比较怕吃闪光。啊，小鬼这边要来了吗？
这回
对这个位置
其实有。
बड़ी भाई को लगा B शॉट फॉरवर्ड है, मतलब B लॉन्ग खाली।
4打4。这边必须打单的小鬼还是稍微有点着急啊。
对，但是你看虎神顶的这个位置，
对，已经顶到下到近点了。
哦，他是真的凶啊，今天。
对，他开始摸屁股了。哎，听到了。
飞口是伦2个人啊。
这边看到了，邓克伦这边被枪法吸引了一下，还是被秒。
也看出来今天温萨布确实有点针对天路。
对，这边投完人马上就跑了，看一下下水道这边。哎呦，虎神这边也没有再往上摸了啊，反摸回来的白菜很有可能被这个虎神打掉。
对，肯定想不到是这个位置啊。
对，刚好，白菜反应有点快啊。3打3了，
纯靠反应。啊，这边是已经摸到小架了，但是没想到左手近点。
哎，这边想补枪，但车头还有一个人啊。马丁这个位置跑了，
听到脚步声，
时间不够了，直接跑枪了。
Still they are best in Asia, bro.
保了把狙。
村路的进攻完全
Whatever they do, they are the best.
去打出来啊。
对，还是有一点着急啊，尤其是这边打单的这个3-8的。
2次摸这个 B 场馆都没有拿到效果。看一下这边是起到了1把 CZ， 1把沙鹰，1把泰奈。
这一次的话好像没有3A 前顶吧？啊，
只有这个一个人，依旧是虎神。
哦呦，
这把狙击枪，
小鬼这边
直接补一抽火跑了，
有点凶，把这个狙打退了。
你看温萨的这次又是一个3B 防守。
对 A 区这回的话是直接就放下了。
北口这边也是3个人已经摸了出来。
天路道具不太多啊，但是有一把狙，这个狙的话还是比较有威胁。
对，就看单 king 这边这把狙击枪了。
哎，这边龙兰也是大狙啊。龙兰这边是在 A 包点这边跳着观察。
这回有点小心了，天路谨慎起来了。
对，还是得把这个下水道清出来啊，不清的话威胁比较大。哎，小鬼没清，直接跟大部队会合。
对， 对，时间也是剩下50秒。这边是选择清了一下厕所中段，但是中段外围这是顶了一个人，虎神。他今天打的确实主动啊
，40秒不到扔了颗烟雾。
这个烟雾还是有点难受的，
这太难受了。这边楼兰一把大狙，楼兰手上看一下，还有一颗闪。
लग रहा है ये पिटेंगे विंग्स अप वाले ये राउंड。
哎呦，漂亮，这边清出来，打掉了近点。哎呦，单听被狙掉了。别扑到脸上。
对，要赶紧清掉这把狙击枪啊！
清掉了。但屁股来的很快啊！这波双杀分2，包也给打掉了。包还好埋上了。
对，但是现在完全是被包夹在包点了。
小鬼这边狙掉一个2打2，没办法，为了被锁死。车这边亚一，哎呦，自豪刚住了。
好悬啊！
对，5比0，险些。
फ्लैंक ने बचा लिया इनको भी शॉट वाले, नहीं तो गया था भाई राउंड।
这温萨布超的确实太快了。
आ रहे होते अगर APC ACT हेवन वाली साइड से तो हार जाते पक्का राउंड।
也是了解嘛。
对，其实
जब बॉम्ब प्लांट हो रहा था पकड़ लिया भाई पीछे से।
他第二时间觉得时机成熟的时候，对吧？然后他就直接会往前摸。
对。应该是刚刚好。刚才是谁在下水道？应该就是小鬼在下水道，先是给了工地一波压力，然后赶紧就跟 A 区的队友会合打一局。刚走弟弟这边就来了。
A 区还是3个人上来啊，给了一波压力。然后这一分还是稳了下来啊，稍微慢一点，这个不能再先掉人了。
这回都是比较小心了。
但是 A 区现在温萨布是重点防守啊，3个人 ，A 大这边一把狙，厕所这边2个。这边开始扔刀具，开始进行反清。但是听到这波如果要清 A 的话，就挺危险的啊 ！A 区人太多了。
对，你看厕所位置中段，混烟雾了，弟弟。
哎，就站在烟雾里边，马上就看到了这边烟雾散了，看一下近点来了，有没有人帮弟弟看？看到了，打掉第一个。弟弟这边应该是要被补掉啊。但是后手这边虎神一颗火先拖一下。
对，就看小鬼这个位置，他这个位置还是比较关键。
对，小鬼一直是在找机会啊。来了，大部队也来了，但是小鬼这边刚好被抓了一个时机啊。
对，感觉温萨布这边就是有点针对小鬼，
对，
知道小鬼喜欢单摸壁。
场馆这边也是被打掉，又变成了一个2打4，而且这个位置也不好处理啊。子豪一开枪，他打一个补枪。
रोटेट ही नहीं कर रहे, 2-2 खेले ही जा रहे हैं, खेले ही जा रहे हैं।
回防温萨布就有点慢了。
प्रेशर है अभी पे।
2个人，
一个走工地，
一个 टॉयलेट में आ गया था。
楼兰这边大狙
2楼支架。
对，看虎神这个工地能不能打到屁股啊？这个很关键。单 king 已经有意识在架了，白菜在架工地，单 king 架场馆。白菜这个位置2楼有点难受啊。看一下这边虎神，我的天，在清这个位置，一颗闪光的，知道大概位置在场馆。虎神这边还有颗闪，
还提前枪。
我的天呀，虎神啊，直接是有点提前枪啊。6比0啊，开局温萨布有点顺啊。
这个确实看得出来，你看 A 区永远是顶1000点。
对 ，A 区顶得很凶。
然后 B 区2个人一直在等小鬼。
感觉确实挺了解天路打法的啊。
就太针对了。
对，做研究了。因为肯定也想到了嘛，BO5的比赛，肯定会打这张图。
对。
而且应该也做好了充分的思想准备，就是首张图可能就打这个。
एक्स्ट्रा शॉट का भी मैच है अभी 10 मिनट में।
反正是天路现在没有什么很好的办法。
对，天路现在还没有快打，看一下这一波会不会变节奏啊？直接打他们这种快打拿分的战术。这分我估计温萨布应该3B去防 rush。
他们之前已经是来了3B，之前有一次3B了，也是防止那一次天路直接是提速嘛。
对。这会儿这边直接灭火，白菜抢得很快啊。
A 区这边气球提速。
对，这边 B 区看一下是A 区 A 大这边2个人摆。
इस बारी गया भाई फुल फास्ट स्पीड
下水道清出来了。
एक फ्लैश किया दौड़ के आ गए मिड शॉट एरिया में अभी धीरे धीरे प्रोसीड करेंगे
这边直接是把刺我这边放了啊，两个看 A 大，我们这边在 A 大反架 A 爆点来了，看一下这边天路从那个厕所过来了 ，A 大这边马上要遭遇，感觉。
对，刚好3个人这个时候清过来。哎呦，又是虎神顶近点。
对，看楼兰这一枪啊，楼兰这边要做一个吸引，虎神就有点准的。
今天他这个状态有点太强了。
对，楼兰这边怎么办？
要一颗闪光，两个人一起拉吗？再给一颗闪光。
这没办法啊，打掉，但是 T T 这边是混死了。
啊，这是厕所位的单听。
是。A 区现在动静很大。 天路这边小鬼在近点放了点枪声，看一下是不是要转 B 啊
？35秒，这个时候转下水道。
哦呦，子豪这边已经从场馆摸出来了，再反摸一下工地，看一下这边他能不能刚
这个timing刚好看到，
打到一个啊，两个人也都知道了。
嗯，
再拿着了回防，天路现在手上没有道具了，马挺已经到位。
马挺有点快吧？
太快了，我又没打过呀，这边。 小鬼拿出枪，
完了，近点有人了，
这没戏了啊！近点已经有人，一个大人。哦呦，上来以后，温萨布这边枪感有点好啊。
哦，他们今天这个状态，虎神的状态有点吓人。
对，虎神这边 A 区第一点基本上就没有先被打过啊，没有先被秒过。
他顶前点真的是首杀肯定能拿到，然后这个后面的观察他也能拿到。
这个虎人的枪又确实有点顶，而且你看整体温萨布这边的状态都很好。
对。哎，这回感觉天路要来 B 区了。
对，看飞口这边灭了一个火，直接 B 区集合。
这 A 区效果确实不好。
对，来了，准备暴毙啊！看是不是要提场馆？哦呦，这时候场馆又封了颗烟雾啊，这颗烟雾有点要命啊。
对，而且短管再给一颗火，
出这颗烟雾很危险。 感觉天路这边要等一等。
B set piece, Heaven smoke barrel, molly flashes。
3A 开始回避了，来了 B 区，看一下这边有没有道具拖。场馆
2个人一起直架，
哎，只完成了一个2换1啊。
白菜一波双杀。
白菜刚住了，看弟弟这个位置。
Somebody पे bomb है और वो B shot अकेला है।
哦，打了一个弟弟。
क्या कर रहा है？
拉过来被秒。
3打2。
对，一颗火稍微拖一下。 我的天呀，这还打掉了单 king 啊！2打2，这埋一个 C4，里面都有一个残血，一颗炸弹炸满。哎呦，这边小鬼有点危险。
2个人的血量都有点残啊。
对，楼兰看一下这把大狙，拉过来狙掉了这边，小鬼1打2，
打1。
这边知道没什么血量，但小鬼这边有一个枪的机动性比较强。
इनकी इकोनॉमी दिख भी नहीं रही, पता है इतने ब्लरी है, पैसे दिख भी नहीं रहे।
而且你看他其实有点聪明，他看到这个1打2以后，直接是拉到了
2 के पास पैसे नहीं है, जितना मेरे को दिख रहा है 3 गन और 2
在后撤这边
weak weapons，
对吧？很被动。两边其实经济都不好。温萨布这边输完1分以后啊，这局场起完了以后。 就没什么经济了。
对 ，Martin 都是只能起到一把沙鹰，又是要灭火，直接出嘛。哦，这个火是没有烧到很多，你看直接跳出来了2个人。
看一下这边听没听到啊？
这个脚步声应该是听到了吧？
没
有听到
应该这边也有火的干扰啊，声音这边。
而且前顶的这个球也是被带走了。
A区2个人是全部被打掉，第一时间。
必须等到你了，脚步声应该是听到了。
听到了。 直接架掉弟弟啊！看一下子豪这边2打4，这个残局应该没啥机会啊。
可以直接爆枪了。
马挺这边只有一把沙鹰啊。
对，可以尝试性打经济，确定位置了，一个闪光。
对，直接打掉这边 A 区清空啊，这边直接来 A 埋包。
小鬼还没有走。
对，小鬼这边还在断，感觉子豪这把枪应该是保不住了。
走下水道。
刚好没看到。
但是下水道上面有人等你啊！
对，孙科伦开始说哦，再架这个位置啊， CY 被打掉了，西贝尔天路拿到第2分。我们再看一下，应该要纯 ECO 了。
对自己经济已经是见底了。
其实刚才他们火有点失误啊，他飞口一颗火，然后第2个这个游乐园的火没丢好。
对，
要丢好的话，我觉得这天路起码要灭个火，对吧？你一灭火就知道有人了。等于刚才这2颗火天路都没灭，直接就跑到这个花园了。
对，而且2个人踩过来以后，很边缘的位置，只伤到了
Eco
10几
is
血。
主持人没意识到。
connector。
这就是一个伏笔啊！看一下5把 USP，
随口直接 CY 直接双杀啊！扔闪反清刚好没白到。
也是天路这边知道温萨布经济不好，远点架枪。小鬼已经是自己摸出来了场馆。看一下 B 区是没有放人的，5个人全都是在一区。但其实感觉温萨布这个位置有点分散，毕竟都是 USP。
对，这局想翻盘应该没机会。天路这边也没有特着急，小鬼这边必须已经摸出来了，还在找人，可能应该是要从去 B 区汇合啊。
大概有人在架。
对。最后一个下水道，楼兰看能不能打把枪。
没有办法。
差点刚住。
其实感觉你说刚才这个气球位置，如果是4个人一起拉过来，会不会效果更好？毕竟有一颗闪光，对吧？
因为手枪本来枪械劣势比较大，对吧？你只能靠这个人数。
对，打一打这个天路经济，就算打掉1把枪，纯 E 嘛，也是值得的。
是的。
7比3。
这局钢枪的话，温萨布道具就非常少。还是一3A 啊，算是非常亏了。下水道这边各交一个烟雾。天路还是没太着急。现在基本上还没有打什么特别提速的战术。
对。这个时候气球，游乐园又是轮一个人抢到近点，但是温萨布还是2个人气球的这个前顶啊，位置有点铁呀。
对，就跟你近点要刚，所以这边被烧出来跑了。哎呦，跑得有点快啊！
这要再稍晚一会儿就走不了了。
下水道马上要遭遇，没打过白菜。
白菜这个枪确实是。
对，今天还是。
अरे मैं देख के मेरे को अपना एक राउंड याद आ गया。
有一个人数优势。
LOL。
A 区往前推进到这个能爆弹的位置。
कल जीते तुम वो
在 A 包点不太好。
Weekend Cup。
确实，你看这个压力有点大，是不是全都要回到 A 区啊？B 区是留了子豪1个人。
一颗闪光反清，这颗闪很重要。拉过来看一下，没看到人啊！白菜已经到近点了，听到了，一个残血，白菜又打了一个。楼兰这边打的白菜，A 大这边也过来了。
A 大其实压力很大，这还让他回头打掉一个，这。
哎呦，又1杀，3杀了。
Somebody magic。
这边1打2了。
क्या लगता है कौन जीतेगा?
1打1。
भाई टाइलो ही जीतनी चाहिए। BO5 है तो मैप पूल इनका।
还有套手枪，单听啊！这等于是1打3吧。这一局有点可惜，楼兰这边已经是90度了。这边打完一打又把这枪拉过来打这个厕所。这一分感觉这是温萨布有点可惜了。单 K 也不用狙了，直接 P250啊，刚好这边也没头甲啊，有头甲其实血量不多，也都1枪都能死。
感觉单 K 也是有赌。
Tanking का भाई skill ceiling इतना ज़्यादा है ना भाई।
抓一个心理嘛，对吧？抓住我这边，
你赌到了，
你肯定觉得我会真买，因为毕竟没啥时间了。
楼兰这边是秒掉了4-1，小鬼1个人扶短管。
ये कौन प्लेयर है? इनका तुमने कभी नाम भी नहीं सुना। दुबई के प्लेयर हैं। तो खुद भी स्ट्रीम कर रहा हूँ। उस दिन वीपी वर्सेस हावू पे बेट किया था, हार गया। मत किया करो भाई बेट। चलो गाइस, फिर मैं जा रहा हूँ भाई अब। आई सी यू टुमारो। थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग। बाय गाइस।